Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our yin yoga together. This will be approximately 30 to 40 minutes of work and relaxation. I'd like to make sure you have blocks or a bolster or even maybe pillows or a cushion, blanket, anything to help ease your body and ultimately bring the ground closer to you, depending on where you're at today. We'll go ahead and get started in child's pose. Bring your bolster or blocks to the side of your mat. And bring your knees to either side of your mat, feet together, hands outstretched in front of you. And head can come down either onto a block underneath your forehead, or perhaps your forehead all the way down to the ground. Start to deepen your inhale, matching that with your exhale. Perhaps sigh out your exhale on your next breath. Letting the weight of the day just flow out. Start to bring your awareness to your breath, lengthening your inhale and deepening your exhale. Start to bring awareness to your body. Are there areas that feel relaxed? Are there areas that feel a little bit sticky? As we embark on this journey together, we will discuss and explore the theme of self-study, Svadhyaya. This is the fourth of 5 Niyamas as outlined in Patanjali's sutras in ancient yogic texts. This idea of self-study, Sva meaning self and Yaya meaning exploration or observation. Svadhyaya is the process of gaining self-awareness and moving towards transformation. Take 3 more deep breaths. On your next breath, knees come in towards each other, shoulder width apart. And your hands will actually walk further out into melting heart pose. Hips stack above knees. Perhaps you want to bring the edges of your mat in to cushion your knees, or perhaps a pillow or a blanket underneath your knees to cushion them, as we'll be here for a few minutes. Hips stack above knees, arms come long. And as your hands come long, melt your heart and head to the ground. Again, a block can be placed underneath your forehead, or perhaps even underneath your arms to provide a little bit more support. Again, yin is about finding your edge. Where can you start to feel some sensation without moving to the point of pain or utter discomfort. As we enter into our melting heart pose, I invite you to start to bring awareness to your thoughts. Are you thinking about your day? Are you thinking about the sensations in your body? Are you thinking about your to-do list for after this? As we start to become the witness of our thoughts, we can separate our thoughts from ourselves, understanding that we are the vessel within which our thoughts, words, actions, and emotions percolate through. Think of a small child playing before bedtime, and their mother says, "Little Johnny, it's time to go to bed." And this small child says, "No, he doesn't want to go to bed," and continues playing. He's able to separate himself from that being that needs to go to bed. And in doing so, he is able to bear witness to that side of him, knowingly or not, and able to keep playing and going about his day. As we start to bear witness to our thoughts, words, and actions, we can separate our ego from ourselves. And when we can separate our ego from ourselves, we start to understand that we actually have a choice. We have a choice in what we choose to flow through us and out of us. We have a choice to decide what is serving us and what is not serving us. Take 3 more deep breaths. Soften into your shoulders. And with your last breath, slowly walk your hands back towards you as your hips sink back into your feet. Arms can slowly move back to rest behind you. Take a moment here in embryo pose. Allow your shoulders to relax. And that deep shoulder and heart opener open you to your practice. Open your heart to this process of self-reflection and self-observation. From here, we'll move into a seated position. Moving into butterfly. Feet come together, creating this diamond shape with your knees. Again, blocks can be used to come underneath your hips, underneath your knees and thighs to support them. As you find that place that creates an edge, Start to soften here. Chin tucks towards your chest. Hands can rest wherever they fall. They can be on your ankles. Palms can come up in this position of surrender and openness. Perhaps a block comes to the ground to support your forehead. Svadhyaya in ancient texts was originally taught as reading of the ancient scriptures and memorization and reciting of mantras. Mantras can be a great tool to focus your mind, focus your thoughts, focus your words on a singular focus. Traditionally, the mantra of Om was used. Om is a universal sound that brings you in tune with your own inner divine nature. This sound can be repeated within your own head, within your own self, silently, as we sit here in our butterfly. Other affirmations that you may choose to repeat silently within yourself. I am the witness to my thoughts. I am open to self-observation and transformation. I invite you to consider one of these mantras or affirmations and focus your mind, your words, your thoughts on this as we move through our butterfly pose. Take 3 more deep breaths. And with your last breath, your hands walk back behind you. Feet come to the mat, shoulder width apart, and just windshield wiper your feet, your knees side to side, releasing through your hips and your spine for a gentle back bend. Moving into shoelace pose, right foot comes to meet your left buttocks, knee faces forward. If this is too much, your foot can come out a little bit further from your waist. And then your left leg wraps over top. Knees stack over knees. Again, bringing the feet out or in, or perhaps placing a block wherever it is that you need your block, perhaps between your knees, just to allow you to meet your edge, but also to find a place of comfortable discomfort. Once you've found that position with your hips, again, we fold forward to find more sensation. If this is exactly where you need to be today, perhaps you clasp either ankle with your hands and roll your shoulders back to sit upright in this position. As we deepen through our poses, perhaps our edge changes. Perhaps we need to back out of something that becomes more painful, or perhaps we can move a little bit deeper, finding stillness in that place. As we move into hip opening, hip focused poses, we start to feel more sensation. We often hold a lot of tension in our hips, as it is at the core of our body that holds it all together. As we start to move into these hip openers, we may start to feel different sensations in our body. Let's start there. What are you feeling? Can you start to bring your awareness and attention to the sensations in your body that you're feeling right now? Perhaps you feel some tension in your right hip. Perhaps you feel some tension in your right thigh, or even your left hip, perhaps your shoulders or your neck. Take a moment to breathe into these places, expanding your breath and deepening into wherever it is that you're feeling this right now. As we begin to become more aware of our body, we can bring our focus back from the ruminating thoughts, the anxieties, the emotions, good or bad, and bring our focus to this place that is wholly ours, our body, our vessel. We can start to bear witness to what it is that we're feeling. And as you bring your focus back to the physical sensations and practice this observation of self, perhaps we can also start to bear witness to any emotions or feelings or thoughts that are coming up at this time. Take 3 more deep breaths. Breathe deeply. And exhale, ground through your hips. At the end of your next breath, hands can again walk behind you, unwinding your legs, feet mat distance apart. Perhaps find a slight back bend and find some slow movement. Washing your hips right to left. Perhaps take a moment when you meet your right or your left side to just open up through that hip even more. And then, when you're ready, left knee comes to the mat, facing forward, left knee towards the right buttock, and you wrap your right knee to stack on top of your left. This side may feel exactly the same. It may feel different. Do you need to do anything to support your body here? Again, perhaps a block or a pillow between your knees. And once you find that position that serves you today, can you soften here? Can you move further towards your edge? Perhaps that means staying exactly where you are or softening forwards. Palms can face down for grounding or up for a position of surrender. Block can come to the forehead, perhaps stacking 2 blocks together. Come back to your breath. Come back to the awareness of your body and the sensations within it. Start to become curious. Are there emotions that start to arise as we move deeper into these hip poses? Is there frustration, irritation? Can you become curious? Who is feeling those emotions? How are those emotions landing in your body right now? Why are you feeling those sensations, feelings, or emotions? Can you breathe through them and let them float on by? As we start to become witness to our bodily sensations, as well as our thoughts, words, and actions, we can become more aware of the stories we tell ourselves, the stories that have been so intrinsically linked with ourselves that we have believed that they are us. But when we can start to become aware of them as an entity separate from ourselves, yet within the vessel of ourselves, we can create space and distance for reflection, for observation, to hold this thought up in our mind's eye and examine whether or not this is truly us. Is this a story, a pattern, an old belief system that has been ever present in our lives? And can we hold it up and examine it and decide whether or not it is something that we want to keep, decide whether or not it's something we want to change, decide whether or not it is something that we want to dispel of altogether. Take 3 more deep breaths here. Expand through your hips. Ground your body down. With your next breath, hands walk back. Blocks can move to your side, finding that slight back bend to unwind your feet mat width apart, and just find that slow rotation and opening, internal and external rotation through your hips. As we move into our final hip opener, frog pose. Again, you may need to roll up the sides of your mat to cushion your knees, as we will be spending some time here. Knees come wide as if you're going into the widest child legs pose. Feet can stay together in a tadpole or come to align ankle with knee, feet flexed. And once you find that you have found that position of meeting your edge, opening through your adductors, your inner hips, you may want to have a bolster underneath your torso to soften down onto. One cheek can come to the mat or perhaps your forehead. And allow yourself to let go. Can you notice where you're holding tension or tightness in your body? Can you breathe into these places? Allow your muscles to let go. Allow the grip, the holding on to soften. There is a story from ancient Greece about the Oracle of Delphi. She was a woman all-knowing who is said to have resided in the temple of Apollo. Kingsmen and statesmen and seekers from all over the Mediterranean would journey to the temple of Apollo to meet with this Oracle of Delphi. No battle would be waged, no crop would be farmed, no marriage would be undertaken without first seeking the counsel of the Oracle of Delphi. Upon entering into the temple, seekers would pass under a stone archway. Upon this stone archway, 2 words were inscribed in Latin, translating to English as "Know thyself." Know thyself. This practice of self-study allows us to seek the answers from within first, knowing that our inner self and our inner light of awareness has the answers that we need. Take 3 more deep breaths. Slowly coming out of this pose, feet come together, hands walk back, knees come in towards each other. Sit back onto your heels. If you had rolled your mat up, you can roll it back out and come to lie on your back. Knees come in towards your chest, rolling out through your lumbar spine, just making small circles right and left. Your knees in at your chest. We move into a supine twist. Hands can come long or extend into a cactus arm position. Knees can relax to your right side. You can bring a block or a bolster between your legs or perhaps underneath your bottom leg. Find what position feels best for you today. Left shoulder relaxes into the ground. Tuck your chin to find length through your cervical spine. Perhaps keeping your spine neutral through your neck or looking over your left shoulder. As we deepen into our supine twist, we reflect on this process of self-observation. In stopping to examine each piece of us, each part that makes us us, we can start to uncover habitual tendencies, automatic responses and reactions, we may start to wade into the shadows and areas of our life that may be a little bit more uncomfortable to look at. This is okay. This is part of the human experience. Take 3 more deep breaths. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Hands come to the knees. Roll out through your lumbar spine. Nod your head yes and no. As your knees come down to a supine twist with your knees twisting over to the left. Hands can come long. Arms can come into a cactus position. Find whatever variation serves you today. Perhaps your gaze is over your right shoulder. Just find softening and length through that right shoulder. And a deeper twist through your entire spine. And uncovering these areas of darkness or shadow, we start to shed light on them. We start to loosen their hold and perhaps their deep-seated presence in our lives. The first step is just observing and bearing witness. creating that space between ego and self, uncovering patterns of habitual thought, word, and action. Take 3 more deep breaths. Bring your knees into center. Wrap your arms around your knees. Find whatever movement is that you feel that your body needs before we move into final Shavasana. And when you're ready, legs extend long, arms come to either side, palms face up in a position of surrender and openness. As we move through life, we may feel the splatter of mud as we move through the messiness that is the human experience. We may be bruised. We may develop scars and wounds. But through this work of self-observation, we start to develop the awareness that can continue to bring us towards growth and inner transformation. Start to find movement in your hands and your feet. Reach your arms overhead. Find a nice, long, deep, full body stretch. Perhaps yawn or sigh. Roll over onto your right side. Take a moment to pause before pressing up into a seated position. Bow your head, close your eyes, bring your hands into heart center in a prayer position, Anjali Mudra. Take a moment to thank yourself for your practice today, to hold yourself and all parts of you with loving kindness and compassion. From my heart to yours, Namaste.